Good day, everyone. I am teacher Jeffelyn Mahinay Gingoni, and today we will talk about on reflection of light.
Our objectives are the following. First, define the terms normal, angle of incidence, and angle of reflection. Second, state the laws of reflection. Observe what happens to the light rays of the flashlight as it hits on the surface. What happens to the light rays? Maybe you answer that the light rays bounce back. What do you call that bouncing of light rays? Probably your answer is reflection. Yes, very good. It is a reflection. But what is reflection? Reflection is the bouncing of light when it hits the surface like a plane mirror. So the light rays, just like the light rays of the flashlight reflects or bounce as it hits on the surface, just like the flashlight that I've shown to you a while ago. Now, take for example this plane mirror or this surface. Then this is the light ray. As it hits on the surface, this is what happened. It bounces. Okay? So when there is a bouncing of light when it hits the surface, that is what we call reflection. In studying reflection of light, there are important terms that you need to learn. For example, this is a plane mirror. And again, the broken line there is called a normal line. And then this ray is called an incident ray. And this one is a reflected ray. So these are the important terms that you need to learn in studying reflection of light. A normal line that is in a broken line, an incident ray, a ray that is going to the plane mirror, and then the reflected ray, a ray that is going out from the mirror. Now, let us define the meaning of the incident ray and reflected ray. Incident ray is a ray striking the surface, so it is an incoming ray. While reflected ray, a ray that is reflected from the surface or an outgoing ray. As you can see on the illustration, the normal line and the incident ray produce an angle, right? And at the same time, the normal line and the reflected ray also produces an angle. Now, what does it mean? The normal line between the normal line and the incident ray produces angle of incidence. And between the normal line and the reflected ray produces angle of reflection. Okay? So again, the normal line in a broken line and this incident ray, a ray that is an incoming ray going to the surface, that is incident ray, make an angle, what we call angle of incidence, in a simple small letter I. And the other side, the normal line, again in a broken line, and then the ray that is going out from the surface, that is called reflected ray, produces an angle of reflection in a symbol angle in a small letter r. So what is angle of reflection? Angle of reflection is the angle between reflected ray and normal line, while the angle of incidence is the angle between incident ray and normal line. Okay? Get it? Is it easy? Based on the given illustration, how do you state the laws of reflection? From the illustration, you can state the laws of reflection. There are two laws of reflection. What are they? There are two laws of reflection. First, we have the angle of incidence is equal to the angle of reflection. In a symbol, angle I is equal to angle R. Angle I means angle of incidence, then equal to angle R, which means angle of reflection. The second one is the normal line, incident ray, and the reflected ray lie on the same plane. Okay. Again, the first law of reflection stated that the angle of incidence is equal to the angle of reflection. Okay, for example, the angle of incidence is 80 degrees. Then, therefore, the angle of reflection is also 80 degrees. Why? Because angle of incidence is equal to the angle of reflection. Another example, if the angle of incidence is 10 degrees, what would be the angle of reflection? Yes, very good. It is also 10 degrees. Another example, if the angle of reflection is 50 degrees, what is the angle of incidence? Correct. Also 50 degrees.
All right. I guess you learned a lot from this topic. And now I have to check how far is your understanding. I have 5 items to ask. Now, are you ready?
Okay, so the first question is, the diagram shows a ray of light being reflected by a plane mirror MN. Which of the following statement is not correct? A. Ray PR is a reflected ray. Ray LP is an incident ray, and angle X is equal to angle Y. Okay, letter B. Angle Y is an angle of reflection. Ray LP is a reflected ray, and broken line QP is a normal line. Letter C. Ray LP is an incident ray. Angle X is an angle of incidence, and angle Y is an angle of reflection. Letter D. Line QP is a normal line. Angle X is equal to angle Y, and ray PR is a reflected ray. Okay, what is your answer? The answer is letter B. Angle Y is an angle of reflection, ray LP is a reflected ray, and line QP is a normal line. Okay, that is not Correct. Number 2. A ray of light is reflected from a plane mirror as shown in the diagram below. What is the angle of reflection? As you can see on the illustration, from the mirror and the incident ray creates 10 degrees. Now, what would be the measurement of angle B? Of course, also 10 degrees. But the question goes like this. What is the angle of reflection? Okay, where does the angle of reflection start? Does it start from the mirror and then the incident ray? Of course, no. It starts from the broken line. It starts between from the broken line and the reflected ray. If you have 10 degrees here, what is the angle of reflection? Okay, the answer is 80 degrees. Why? You know, the normal line and the mirror is 90 degrees, right? Okay, again, the normal line, between the normal line and the surface of the mirror creates 90 degrees. Between the incident ray and the surface of the mirror has 10 degrees. And also, from the reflected ray and the plane mirror has 10 degrees also. So, if the normal line and the plane mirror produces 90 degrees, yeah, you have 10 degrees already, so you have to subtract 90 degrees to 80 degrees. No, 90 degrees to 10 degrees. So the answer is 80 degrees. Okay? Understand? Now let's proceed to number. Okay, for number 3, the diagram shows a ray of light reflected in a plane mirror. What is the angle of incidence? It is the same situation from number 2. As you can see on the illustration, the incident ray, a ray that is striking on the surface of the mirror, and the surface of the mirror creates 40 degrees. Now, if you are trying to measure the angle between the normal line and the surface of the mirror, it produces 90 degrees. So, if that is so, now what is the angle of incidence? Angle of incidence, always remember, happens between the normal line and the incident ray. So, the incident ray, no, the angle of incidence, nara din hindapita. Okay. Now, what is the angle of incidence from this situation, from this question? If there is 90 degrees between normal line and the plane mirror, and then it has 40 degrees already, so you have to subtract 90 degrees to 40 degrees. So the answer is letter D. Okay? Is it simple? Very simple. Now, number 4. The diagram below shows a ray of light striking the surface. Look at the illustration. If the total angle of incident ray and angle of reflected ray is 90 degrees, what will be the angle of incidence? Okay, again, the diagram below shows a ray of light striking the surface. If the total angle of incident ray and angle of reflected ray is 90 degrees, what will be the angle of incidence? Very Very easy. If incident ray and angle of reflected ray is 90 degrees, their total. So what would be the angle of incidence? Simply, you have to divide 90 into 2. What is the answer? The answer is letter D, 45 degrees. Okay? Very easy. Now, for the last number, how do you state the laws of reflection? All right. So the law of reflection stated that the angle of incidence is equal to the angle of reflection. And the incident ray, reflected ray, and normal line lie on the same plane. Any questions? Clarifications? So,
Alright, I guess you are loaded today for all the things that I given up to you. So very good. Congratulations for you made it well. Now, I hope you enjoy learning and please keep updated on our next video. This is Teacher Jacqueline Mahinegin Goni at your service. Thank you for what. Alright, I guess you are loaded today